the untold story of the fierce warrior women. Throughout history, legends have spoken of a race of fierce warrior women who lived apart from men, governed themselves, and struck fear into the hearts of even the greatest warriors. A society of fearless female fighters whose name has echoed through the ages. But who were they? Were they merely a myth, a tale born from the fears and fascinations of men, or did they truly exist? If they did, where did they live and how did they come to be? Their story, passed down through the great epics of Greek, Roman, and even Egyptian mythology, is one of strength, defiance, and war, a tale that challenged the very foundations of the ancient world. Let us journey back in time and uncover the truth behind the epic legend of the Amazons. The origins of the Amazons in Greek mythology. The tale of the Amazons originates in Greek mythology, where they are often described as the daughters of Ares, the god of war, and the nymph Harmonia. From this divine lineage came their first queen and founder, Atra, daughter of Eurus, the east wind. Atra became the consort of Ares himself, and together, they bore the daughters who would define the Amazonian legacy: Hippolyta, Antiope, and Penthesilea, all future queens of their fierce and independent nation. From birth, Amazonian girls were destined for battle. Unlike the women of Greece, who were confined to the domestic sphere, the Amazons trained as warriors, their entire existence centered around the art of war. Their society rejected the traditional female roles imposed by Greek states, where men held absolute power. Instead, they built a kingdom ruled by a queen, where strength and discipline dictated status. The Amazon homeland was located in Pontus, along the southern shores of the Black Sea, with its legendary capital, Themyscira, standing proudly on the banks of the Thermodon River. But the Amazons were not a people confined to a single land. Over time, their influence spread, reaching beyond the borders of the Gargarians, an all-male tribe with whom the Amazons maintained an unusual yet essential alliance. Once a year, the Amazons and the Gargarians would meet for a sacred ritual of copulation, ensuring the survival of both tribes. Female children were kept and raised as warriors, while male children were returned to the Gargarians, maintaining the separation between their societies. One of the most controversial aspects of their legend is the claim that they altered their own bodies to enhance their combat skills. Some ancient writers, including the Greek historian Herodotus, suggest that the Amazons removed or bound the right breast to improve their ability to draw back a bowstring without hindrance. Whether this practice was real or a later myth is uncertain, but it is from this tale that the name Amazon supposedly originates, deriving from the Greek words a, meaning without, and mazos, meaning breast. The Amazons were not only warriors, they were empire builders and adventurers. Under the command of their queens, they launched military expeditions across the known world, reaching as far as Scythia, Thrace, Asia Minor, the Aegean Islands, Arabia, and Egypt. They waged war, conquered lands, and even left their mark on civilization by founding numerous cities, including Ephesos, Syme, Smyrna, Sinope, Marina, Magnesia, and Pygela. Despite their near-mythical status, the ancient Greeks never doubted the Amazons' existence. Their homeland, Themyscira, was well known in Greek tradition, and their presence was felt throughout history. Over time, however, the Amazons gradually retreated beyond the Gargarians' borders, seeking refuge in the rugged northern foothills of the Caucasus Mountains, where they continued their way of life, isolated from the world of men. What is undeniable, however, is their unmatched skill in battle. Whether wielding bows, spears, or the double-headed Labrys axe, the Amazons rode into combat with relentless precision. Their horsemanship was said to rival even the finest of Greek and Scythian riders, making them nearly unstoppable on the battlefield. They lived by the sword, their strength and independence making them both feared and admired by those who encountered them. The origin of the Amazons, the account of Ephorus. While Greek mythology describes the Amazons as the fierce daughters of Ares and Harmonia, some ancient historians offered a different perspective. Among them was Ephorus, a Greek historian who traced the origins of the Amazons to a historical event tied to the Scythians, the nomadic warrior people of the Eurasian steppes. According to Ephorus, the Amazon nation began when two exiled Scythian nobles, Siligios and Scalopicus, led a faction of aristocrats in search of a new homeland. They eventually arrived at the Thermodon River in Cappadocia, where they waged war against the Syrian people who lived there. The invasion was brutal. Many of the local men were slaughtered, leaving behind a society of widowed women and orphaned children. But these women did not accept their fate as victims. Instead, they banded together as warriors, taking up arms to avenge their fallen people. With the help of the few surviving young males, they launched a counterattack against their oppressors, driving them out and continuing their conquests against neighboring lands. In time, they grew into a formidable force, feared by all who stood in their path. As their power grew, these warrior women made a bold and ruthless decision. They killed the remaining husbands who had survived the Scythian massacre. This was done to eliminate any suggestion that some women had been spared by fate or privileged in some way. They embraced a new way of life, one in which men played no role in their governance or warfare. To ensure the continuation of their people, the Amazons engaged in ritual unions with men from neighboring tribes. Once they became pregnant, they returned to their homeland, carrying the next generation of warriors. However, their laws were strict. Male infants were killed at birth, while female children were raised as warriors, trained from a young age to wield weapons and fight with unmatched skill. Though this account differs from the Greek myths of divine origins, it offers a compelling alternative, one that suggests the Amazons may have been inspired by real warrior societies that rejected traditional roles and built a nation of warriors feared across the ancient world. The Great Battles of the Amazons. The Amazons were not merely a whispered myth or an exaggerated fantasy of the ancient world. Time and time again, they clashed with the mightiest heroes of Greek legend, proving their place among the fiercest warriors to ever exist. Each battle was not just a skirmish but a testament to their unbreakable will, their skill in combat, and the fear they instilled in their enemies. The War with Heracles. One of the most well-known conflicts involving the Amazons was their war against the mighty Heracles, the son of Zeus. As part of his 12 labors, Heracles was tasked with retrieving the enchanted girdle of Queen Hippolyta, a powerful Amazon ruler. This was no ordinary belt. It was a symbol of the Amazon's strength, gifted to Hippolyta by her father, Ares, the god of war. To take it meant to challenge the authority of the Amazons themselves. When Heracles and his men arrived at the Amazonian stronghold, Hippolyta, impressed by his valor and strength, was willing to offer him the girdle peacefully. She recognized him not as an enemy but as a warrior worthy of respect. However, Hera, ever envious and full of spite, could not allow Heracles' labor to be completed so easily. She transformed as one of them and spread false rumors among the Amazons, whispering that Heracles had come not to negotiate, but to deceive, to capture their queen, and to bring destruction upon their people. Fueled by fury and a deep sense of betrayal, Ahala, the swiftest of the Amazons, led her warriors in a ferocious assault on Heracles' camp. The clash was brutal. Arrows darkened the skies, the sound of swords meeting shields rang across the land. The Amazons, unmatched in their skill on horseback, weaved through the battlefield, cutting down Heracles' men with swift and ruthless precision. But Heracles was no ordinary man. His strength was godlike and his fury was unmatched. He cut through the Amazonian warriors with sheer force, pushing his way toward Hippolyta. The battle raged on for hours, and the Amazons fought with unmatched tenacity. Heracles ultimately overwhelmed them, clashing with Hippolyta herself, and the battle ended in tragedy. Hippolyta was slain. With no choice but to finish his task, Heracles took the girdle and sailed away, leaving behind a battlefield littered with fallen warriors, both Amazon and Greek alike. Though Heracles completed his labor, the battle was far from over. The Amazonomachy, the Attic War. The greatest of all Amazonian battles was the legendary Amazonomachy, also known as the Attic War, the war between the Amazons and Athens. The origins of this war vary, but one of the most famous versions tells of Theseus, the Athenian hero, and his encounter with the Amazons. Theseus sought to prove himself by taking a powerful Amazonian queen as a bride, so he joined Heracles on his expedition to Themyscira, alongside Sthenelus and Telamon. While Heracles battled for Hippolyta's enchanted belt, Theseus, alongside Sthenelus and Telamon, carried out a far more personal attack against the Amazons. Seizing the opportunity, Theseus abducted Antiope, the sister of Queen Hippolyta. This brazen act was seen as an unforgivable offense, but before they could reclaim her, tragedy struck. Queen Hippolyta was slain, and Antiope remained captive in enemy hands. As Heracles and his men sailed away, the Amazonian warriors stood upon the shore, mourning their queen and vowing vengeance. In their time of grief, a new leader emerged, Penthesilea, the youngest of the sisters. Fierce, unrelenting, and driven by vengeance, she took up the mantle of queen and led the Amazons on a relentless march toward Athens. The battle was unlike any the city had ever seen. The Amazons, relentless and fearless, stormed Athens, their war cries shaking the very walls of the city. Clad in bronze, wielding their deadly labrys, axes, and bows, they fought with precision, striking down Athenian warriors with each deadly blow. 4 days the battle raged on. The streets ran red with blood, and the air was thick with the sound of clashing steel. The Athenians, led by Theseus, fought back with equal determination, knowing that their city's fate hung in the balance. The Amazons stormed through Athenian territory, conquering city after city, until they reached the heart of Athens itself. Their forces stretched across the land. Their left flank held a position in what would later be known as the Amazonium, while their right wing reached the Nix, a site of great political significance in Athens. As the Amazons set up their siege, an uneasy tension settled over the city. For a time, neither side engaged. Then, in a bid to turn the tide, Theseus made a bold move. He offered sacrifices to Phobos, the god of fear, and launched a surprise attack during the Athenian month of Bodromion. The Athenians struck from the museum toward the Amazonian right wing, stationed at the Nix. But the Amazons held their ground, pushing the Athenians back as far as the Temple of Eumenides. On the other side, the battle played out differently. The Athenians launched an assault from the temples of Pallas, Ardetus, and the Lyceum, driving the Amazonian left flank back to their camp. Antiope, the captured sister of Hippolyta, led a desperate counterattack. She secretly evacuated wounded Amazons to the island of Chalkis for treatment. But in the heat of combat, she was fatally wounded. To prevent her from being captured, her loyal warrior Malpadia made the ultimate decision. She ended Antiope's life before the Athenians could take her. The war raged for 4 months until both sides finally agreed to a peace treaty at the Horiomoseum, near the Temple of Theseus. As part of the agreement, Athens pledged to honor the Amazons by making offerings before every festival of Theseus. Though the Amazons withdrew, their mark on Athens remained, etched in the names of places, in the graves of fallen warriors, and in the memory of a war that shook the ancient world. The Amazonomachy became one of the most celebrated stories in Greek art and literature, depicted on temple friezes and vases as a testament to the Amazons' unyielding spirit. The Amazons in the Trojan War. Years after their war with Athens, the Amazons found themselves entwined in another war, the Trojan War. The war was fought between the Achaeans, Greeks, and the city of Troy, following the abduction of Helen, the wife of Menelaus, king of Sparta, by Paris, the prince of Troy. As the brutal war between the Greeks and Trojans raged on, countless warriors fell, including Hector, the valiant prince of Troy. Desperate to save his city, King Priam summoned every ally he could find. Among those who answered the call was Penthesilea, queen of the Amazons. She owed a deep debt to Priam, for he had purified her of the guilt she bore after accidentally killing her own sister Melanippe during a hunt. Determined to repay this kindness and restore her honor, Penthesilea led 12 of her fiercest warriors to the battlefield: Clone, Polmusa, Dorino, Evandre, Antandre, Bermusa, Hippotho, Harmatho, Alcibe, Derimacheia, Antibrote, and Thermodosa. The moment the Amazons entered the war, the tide shifted. Penthesilea, a warrior unmatched in speed and precision, led her warriors into battle like a storm unleashed upon the Greek forces. The Amazons struck fear into their enemies, cutting down soldier after soldier with ruthless efficiency. But as the battle raged on, one by one the Amazons fell. Clone was the first to die, cut down by a Greek warrior. Enraged, Penthesilea struck back with fury. She cut through the Greek ranks like a storm, killing 8 warriors in vengeance, even severing the hand of the one who had slain Clone. But the tide of war was merciless. Bermusa, Evandre, Thermodosa, Dorino, Alcibe, and Derimacheia soon met the same fate, their bodies falling amidst the chaos of battle. Yet Penthesilea was unstoppable. She fought with sword, axe, and even spear, carving through the Greek ranks ruthlessly, her wrath unmatched. She killed so many Greek warriors that the young Trojan women watching from the towers were inspired to fight, emboldened by her defiance. Then came the fateful duel, Penthesilea against Achilles, the greatest warrior of the Greek army. The two clashed in an earth-shaking battle, their swords flashing like lightning. Blow after blow they tested each other's strength, neither yielding an inch. But Achilles, blessed with godlike speed and the armor of Hephaestus, had the upper hand. With one fatal thrust of his spear, he struck Penthesilea down. As she fell, Achilles removed her helmet, expecting to see the face of another fallen foe. But instead he was met with something unexpected: Penthesilea's face, fierce yet tragically beautiful. In that moment, a wave of sorrow washed over him. He had slain a warrior of unparalleled strength, but he had also taken the life of a woman who had fought with honor, seeking a noble end. Thersites mocked Achilles, suggesting he had fallen in love with Penthesilea. He even gouged her eyes just to jeer him. Enraged, Achilles struck him with such force that he died instantly. To cleanse himself of the act, Amazon her helmet, expecting to see the face of another fallen foe. But instead he was met with something unexpected: Penthesilea's face, fierce yet tragically beautiful. In that moment, a wave of sorrow washed over him. He had slain a warrior of unparalleled strength, but he had also taken the life of a woman who had fought with honor, seeking a noble end. Thersites mocked Achilles, suggesting he had fallen in love with Penthesilea. He even gouged her eyes just to jeer him. Enraged, Achilles struck him with such force that he died instantly. To cleanse himself of the act, her empire witnessing ruthlessly her sufficiency. But as the wife of Menelaus, had fallen in love with Penthesilea, he even gouged her eyes just to jeer him. Enraged, Achilles struck him with such force that he died instantly. To cleanse himself of the act, Achilles journeyed to the island of Lesbos for purification before returning to Troy, where he would soon face the warrior king Memnon. Penthesilea's warriors, though outnumbered, fought desperately to reclaim her body, refusing to let their queen be desecrated. Cleite, the devoted attendant of Penthesilea, had remained behind in Pontus when her queen set off for the Trojan War. However, when Penthesilea failed to return, Cleite, determined to find her, gathered a company of Amazons and set sail in search of their lost queen. Tragically, their voyage was met with disaster. A violent storm swept their ship off course, and they were shipwrecked on the toe of Italy in the region of Bruttium. Stranded in an unfamiliar land, Cleite and her warriors had no choice but to adapt. In time, she rose to power, becoming the queen of the Amazons who settled there, ensuring that the legacy of the warrior women endured far from their homeland. Though the Greeks ultimately claimed victory, the Amazons had left an indelible mark on history, proving once again that they were not mere legends, but warriors worthy of remembrance. Marina, the conquering queen of the Amazons. Long before the legendary Amazons of Greek mythology clashed with heroes like Heracles and Achilles, there was Marina, one of the greatest and most powerful Amazon queens. Unlike her successors, who were often portrayed as fierce defenders of their lands, Marina was an empire builder, a warrior queen who expanded Amazonian rule far beyond its known territories. According to Diodorus Siculus, Marina first rose to power in Libya, uniting various Amazonian tribes into a formidable army. She led her warriors on a series of conquests, expanding the Amazon domain across North Africa and the Mediterranean. Her first great battle was against the Atlanteans, a powerful civilization that, after witnessing her strength, chose to form an alliance rather than face destruction. Strengthened by this partnership, Marina continued her expansion, defeating the Berbers and other African tribes before marching eastward. One of her most extraordinary encounters was with the Gorgons, a fierce race of warrior women. Unlike the later myth of Medusa, these Gorgons were a powerful army rather than monstrous beings. Marina led a decisive campaign against them, crushing their forces and taking their lands, further solidifying her reign as one of the most dominant rulers of her time. However, Marina's conquests eventually met resistance. As she pushed further into new territories, she encountered a formidable army from the east. In this brutal conflict, Marina and her warriors were ultimately defeated, and she was slain in battle. Though her empire did not last, Marina's legacy endured. Her name was immortalized in the founding of cities, and her legend inspired future generations of warrior women. While later Amazon queens like Penthesilea and Hippolyta would make their mark in Greek mythology, Marina was one of the first to turn the Amazons from a warrior society into a conquering force. Her story is one of power, ambition, and the fearless pursuit of dominion in a world ruled by strength. The culture and legacy of the Amazons. Beyond the battlefield, the Amazons embodied a society that defied the norms of the ancient world. They were said to live independently from men, governing themselves and dedicating their lives to war, strategy, and survival. Some stories claim they only sought out men for the purpose of bearing children, keeping only their daughters and sending away or even discarding their sons. Yet, history suggests that the Amazons may not have been purely mythical. Many scholars believe their legend was inspired by real warrior women, particularly among the Scythians and Sarmatians, nomadic tribes of Central Asia renowned for their formidable female fighters. Archaeological discoveries, including graves of women buried with weapons and armor, support the idea that the Amazons may have been rooted in reality rather than pure fiction. Myth or reality, the Amazons remain one of the most fascinating mysteries of ancient mythology. Whether they were purely fictional or based on real warrior cultures, their legend has endured for centuries. They have become symbols of strength, defiance, and the untamed power of women in a world that sought to confine them. Perhaps the Amazons never truly disappeared. Perhaps their spirit lives on in those who fight their own battles, who challenge the world around them, and who refuse to be silenced. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more tales from mythology and history. Until next time, keep exploring the myths that shape our world.